Welcome to Impossible Podcasts.
I'm Caleb Woodsbridge, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Impossible Podcasts. I'm currently a student at Cardiff University studying English literature, and I'm also a published writer. I've had a number of short stories published, including a couple for Big Finish's Doctor Who short trips, and I'm currently trying to get my first novel published.
My name's Peter Bell. I'm the reviews editor for Impossible Podcasts.
I'm Swithun Dobson. On the podcast, I'm a regular podcaster with the lads, and I occasionally write a few articles, analysis pieces, and I'm generally the self-styled critic. I think is a good way of describing myself.
Hi, I'm Olivia Cottrell and I review things for Impossible Podcasts. I've also been on a few of the podcasts themselves, helping to talk about things like video games and recent episodes of Doctor Who.
Now, that's a tricky question, and it would the answer probably change depending on when you asked me. I do have, as far as classic Doctor Who goes, I've got quite a soft spot for season 18, Tom Baker's last season, and as far as the new series goes, I'm a big fan both of the Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat version of the show, but probably particularly Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor.
My favourite era would have to be the one I grew up with, which is the late Sylvester McCoy era, seasons 25 and 26. The odds were that somebody had to like them eventually, but no, he's my Doctor, him and Sophie Aldred.
Well, that's a difficult question, really. I'd say I like early Hartnell because it's quite varied. Early Pertwee is also pretty good. Obviously, Tom Baker, season 13 and 14. I tend to get less enamoured with the 80s and thereafter, but I would say those are kind of my major eras, between 63 and 76, really.
I'm afraid I don't really have a favourite era of Doctor Who. I have a favourite series, which is Series 5. It's the only one I own on DVD, but unfortunately I'm not actually a big enough geek to have a favourite era of Doctor Who. Please don't tell anyone or they'll kick me off the podcast.
And my geek specialities are, Doctor Who in particular, obviously, but I'm also very into children's and young adult fiction, things like Narnia, His Dark Materials, Philip Pullman's Mortal Engines series, a whole range. There's just so much good stuff. And I'm also very into Tolkien and to Lord of the Rings, so I'm a really big geek when it comes to that as well.
Well, other geek interest, I think I've got my good Prisoner T-shirt here. The original, obviously, not the remake. This is a huge one. Other geeky interests, I don't know. Film-wise, quite a few sci-fi fantasy films. Moon, in particular, some of David Lynch's stuff is pretty good. I read a few fantasy novels. So beyond Doctor Who and kind of what would be cultdom geekdom, not actually that varied, actually.
A little bit of everything, to be honest. I'm a massive Battlestar Galactica fan, Farscape, Babylon 5, so space operas, I love space operas. But I'm into dark fantasy, the horror genres, a little bit of everything.
My geek specialities, or rather the areas in which I have a special geeky interest, are comic books, especially Wonder Woman, the subject of my master's dissertation. Also video games, especially games by BioWare like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. BioWare pretty much owns my fangirl heart, unfortunately. And I also enjoy other areas of geeky interest, such as anime, manga, and pretty much anything that's brightly coloured and silly.
My claim to geek fame, well, I interviewed Russell T Davies just across from here in Coffee Mania, so I think that's a pretty good claim to fame for the student paper. He very graciously agreed to do that interview, so that was really cool. And as I've already mentioned, I've had those couple of Doctor Who short stories published, so I've made at least some small contribution to the world of Doctor Who. I know that somewhere some fan has sat down to work out how my stories fit into the Doctor Who canon, and that's pretty cool.
Well, I think my best geek claim to fame was I was at the old Doctor Who exhibition in Llangollen. And it was like a Tom Baker day, so he came around the tables when we were eating and whatever. And when I was having my photograph taken with him, it was absolutely chucking it down. And so he asked me what my name was, which is Swithun, and then proceeded to blame me for the rain. So that's probably my best.
My geek claim to fame is very close to where we're standing now. I used to work at the Glamorgan building in Cardiff University, and that's where they filmed Victory of the Daleks, all the rooftop scenes with the Ironsides. And I was lucky enough to be able to get up onto the roof and see the new look Daleks while they were filming with them up there, so I got a bit of a sneak peek.
My geek claim to fame? Does writing for this website count? I don't know. I don't really have a geek claim to fame, I think. I've met some famous geeky people, a couple of comic book writers, Greg Rucka, for example, and I've got Eve Miles's autograph. I suppose that one of the things that I've done that would be fairly geeky would be the aforementioned dissertation on Wonder Woman and her significance as a sort of classical and feminist icon. And maybe this t-shirt, which I ordered all the way from America and is a Kate Beaton webcomic t-shirt. So there you go, some geek claim to fames.
Find us online. Impossible Podcast.